This episode was pretty lit. Episode 7, uh, season 3 of book 2. This episode was pretty lit. Um, Now Tariq ended up actually being just like Ghost because Ghost is like Bruce Lee esque, with his get ups, with his different disguises and stuff like this. And so is Tariq. He essentially dressed up like a janitor, essentially, so that no one would really suspect that it's really him because he's dressed up as a janitor, right? Tariq is usually stylish, and he essentially ended up getting some information out of Lauren, right? Lauren Baldwin, about how it is that they're building a case on him by him recording the phone, right, with Effie, that it really was Effie and Braden's uh, idea, but more so, Effie was really um, telling off on herself, really. So that was very smart by Tariq. But at the same time, there's some serious betrayals there because, there was some serious betrayals there because this could really end up being the catalyst for if Effie ends up getting turned in, she may potentially end up turning to being a snitch. You never know, especially since Effie doesn't have too much to lose. It's not like Tariq was paying her tuition. Technically it's Kane that's really paying her tuition. And which brings me to my next subject, Kane making very smart moves like Mecca did, where he's playing upon trying to keep other people dependent on him. But not only that, but like it is that I said before, I think Kane really does like Effie because the way that he's looking, the way that he was looking after Effie was telling him no, don't do that, don't pay her tuition, and Effie herself know what it is. She knew and knows what it is. Don't take a man's money unless you actually like this guy. And that if you're gonna be out here accepting his money, that means that you may end up owing him a little something something. So you don't want to take money from him unless you actually like him because then you owe him, right? She ended up taking his money. Even though she said no, he ended up paying for the rest of the semester. And she was like, okay, you know, she said, forget about you, Kane. I told you I didn't want the money or whatever. But, she basically smiled. It was a very good gesture that she liked, that Effie liked. But there's also a chance, like I said, that there could be something between Kane and Effie brewing. And there is. Because she smiling. She liked the fact that Kane did that. We already know what that means when a woman starts smiling and she's doing it genuinely, right, in the sake of the show. She likes him. But Kane is also making a chess move because now it's like, okay, he can always take back the things that he gave to her, and Effie's not the richest person in the world. So she's street smart, but she's not the richest person in the world. So, but Kane also knows that, and also talking about Kane, Kane also knew that it wasn't really the right time to strike when it comes to Monet, because he knew that Monet was essentially setting up Gordo and Kai to be in cahoots with each other, right? Of the passing of Lorenzo, conspiring behind, the family's back, even though Drew was sleeping with Gordo. Now, Drew got one half of the story right, with the whole Gordo situation, even though Drew ended up doing what it is that he needed to do. But the situation with Drew um, I should say, with Drew, is that Drew need to understand that, or will essentially find out once he puts one and one together to make two, that it wasn't Gordo and Kai, it's Monet and Gordo. Because Monet had actually let slip that she threw um, Drew a little bone when she said, "Who is it? Is it Gordo?" And Drew picked up on that, but he found that to be weird, and he didn't think anything of it. So all of these games that Monet and stuff like this is playing is definitely going to fall back onto her, because there's already people starting to sniff her out. You know, Kane Tahada, aka yeah, Kane Tahada, knew that knew that she had something to do with it, but he ain't saying anything because, like I said before, he knew it's not necessarily the right time to strike. There will be time for that. Right now, they're at war. He wants to make sure that there's peace first before he settles it. He does what he does, and then with with um the feds themselves, the feds are essentially, coming up close to getting to getting Tariq. So Tariq essentially is going to have to think of something very quickly, because if he doesn't, Diana's going to stay in jail, because Diana ended up getting roped up by the end of the seventh episode. Diana's going to stay in jail. There's no telling what it is that Diana is going to say. Although I don't think Diana is actually going to talk about Tariq. I think she's more so going to sell Monet Tejada, her mother, out. If anything else, all roads lead back to Monet Tejada. Monet Tejada was the one that popped Mecca. Monet Tejada setting up Noma coming to New York. Monet Tejada was the one that made Lorenzo have his passing. Monet Tejada was the one that framed Gordo and stuff like this. Even though Gordo did do it, Gordo doesn't seem to Gordo was too stupid to understand that when you do somebody's dirty work, after that you become disposable. They better wake up, man. They better wake